You ever fall in love with someone's lies because they dressed them up as hope? That was me, smiling like an idiot in a candlelit Brooklyn loft, thinking I was home while the man I loved popped champagne for a victory I didn't know was me. It began on a rainy Tuesday when my landlord threatened to evict me for the third time that month. I was 25, a struggling writer freelancing for magazines that paid in exposure and leftover kindness. I just lost another gig when Elijah Kane, CEO of one of New York's hottest tech startups, slid into my Instagram DMs. Your last article on love and survival made me cry on a Delta flight. Dinner. I thought it was a prank. But 2 hours later, I was in a bar in Soho, seated across from a man whose face had graced Forbes and whose eyes were so calm they made me believe I could finally stop running. He wasn't flashy. He didn't talk about money. He asked about my childhood, my scars, the way I always carried a beat-up Moleskine even when I didn't write. For the first time in years, someone saw Menet as a project, not as a burden but as someone worth pausing for. We fell fast. Elijah made space in his world for me, in his penthouse, in his routines. He read my drafts, cooked for me when I was blocked, whispered, "I got you," every time my world shook. So I stayed. I stayed when he missed our third date to fly to San Francisco last minute. I stayed when a man named Marcus showed up at his apartment and left with the kind of smirk that kept me awake that night. I stayed even when I saw myself tagged in a photo on some gossip page. Elijah Kane's latest arm candy, who is this mystery writer? He said, "They'll always talk, but I only care about what we have." And I believed him. But cracks don't ask for permission. They split you open quietly. One night, I overheard a phone call, his voice sharp, unfamiliar. "No, it worked. He's hooked. The article comes out next week." Silence. "Yeah, he thinks he's the one. They always do." I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I just walked out before sunrise and left my key on the counter beside the untouched dinner he'd made. 3 weeks passed. My phone buzzed constantly. Apologies. Excuses. Explanations. I blocked him. Unblocked him. Typed messages I never sent. Every time I passed that coffee shop where he first held my hand like I was sacred, my chest twisted. Then came the email. Subject line: "Please read this before you hate me forever." Inside was a link to a private blog post. The title? "When Love Collides with Power. The Man Who Changed My Life." It was my story, our story, but through his eyes. He wrote about how he'd always been the one with power, with control, with influence, until he met me. How he started it all as a game. Yes, a bet between friends over drinks. Bet you can't make that broke writer fall in love in less than a month. And how the first lie led to real dinners, real conversations, and eventually, a very real breaking of his own rules. "I fell in love with the boy I was never supposed to care about," he wrote. "I hurt him because I didn't know how to be vulnerable without first being cruel." At the bottom, he added, "If this is the last thing you ever read from me, I want it to be the truth. Not the trophy. Not the PR move. Just me." I didn't reply. Not at first. But truth has a way of sitting with you, clawing gently at your silence. So I asked to meet him. He came to the park bench where I first told him about my father's addiction, my fear of failure, my impossible dreams. He looked smaller. No suit. No charm. Just a man begging with his eyes. "I don't deserve you," he said quietly. "No," I replied. "But I deserve the choice. And this time, I'm making it with both eyes open." He flinched. "So this is goodbye?" I shook my head. "No, this is not about you. Not anymore. This is about me deciding whether my love gets to be real again." He waited. Hope flickered. I let the silence hang before adding, "But if you're ready to stop making me a story and start being one with me, I'm willing to see where that road leads." He nodded slowly. The first tear slipped down his cheek. And then his hand brushed mine, not claiming, just asking. I took it, because sometimes the most radical thing you can do after betrayal is still believe. Not in them, in yourself. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.